Hello folks, tonight I'm going to talk about what may have it's been called the rifle that won World War II. I'm trying to get this centered. Again, this is Larry Martin's World War II in their own words. This is the M1 Garand. It is a fine rifle. This one's in really fine shape. I've had it tore down and mic'd, and it's in great shape. Uh, this rifle weighs about 8.5 pounds. I guess I should put it down. Weighs about 8.5 pounds. It has a 8-round magazine that has 8 30-06 shells. It was, I believe, the first semi-automatic rifle of any country in World War II. They had automatic rifles, automatic BARs, they had Thompsons, but the average rifleman started off the very early part of World War II carrying a 1903 Springfield, which is a fine rifle, but it was a bolt action, single shot, and you had to, kick out a round with a bolt. I think that Garand started inventing this in about 27 or 30. He worked for the Springfield Armory. Anyway, it's a 30-06. It's got a killing range of about 600 yards. Um, Very superior to bolt action of the Japanese rifles. The Mauser was a fine rifle, the German Mauser, but it was a bolt action also. Let me show you what's called Arasaka Type 99. This is a Japanese rifle of World War II. It was a bolt action. You can see it here. It's a bolt action. It had a 5-round magazine, shot about a 303 round, 30 caliber, which definitely kill you. Just when you're fighting a semi-automatic against a bolt action, generally the semi-automatic is going to win. I got this from a man named Gene Yale. He was a Pearl Harbor, or excuse me, an Iwo Jima Marine artilleryman on a 75 pack howitzer. I'm trying to get this thing centered, folks. Excuse me. He brought it home. He did not get it at Iwo Jima. He was sent to Japan to destroy anything military, and he brought this back. He gave it to me to put out at my programs. Back to the M1. Every now and then you'll hear this, I don't know if it's an old wives' tale, that the M1 had I've got them at home, I don't have them here. They shot 8 rounds and they ejected a little metal clip, a U-shaped metal clip that made a ping. And in the old wives' tale, if that's what it is, was that the enemy, German or Japanese, would hear that ping and know the man was out of ammunition and come up and kill him. Well, I've talked to several infantrymen that said that's a bunch of hooey. First of all, you weren't close enough that a Japanese or a German soldier could hear that, and if they did, you were with 75 buddies or 1,075 buddies that wouldn't have empty magazines at the same time. So you'll hear on TV that they got in the habit of throwing a magazine on the ground to make that noise to get the Japanese or German soldier to come up so that the American could then shoot them. From what I've talked to a lot of infantrymen, they said that wasn't very factual either. Again, no enemy was so close that they could hear this ping, and if they did, your buddies had their magazines were full. But the M1 was a fine, fine rifle. The Arasaka Type 99 was an older bolt action. Would definitely kill you. I mean, but it just wasn't a semi-automatic. I just saw a thing on the History Channel where they had 2 experts go through a target practice with a M1 and with the Arasaka Type 99, and as you can imagine, the M1 was far superior, because you could stay on target. You could look at the target, fire. The rifle stayed pretty close. Where with a bolt, you go away from your eye to get the old round out, get a new round in, and you got to come back up and get on target again. and besides, it only shoot 5. It just wasn't near as good as the M1. Um, the M1, like I said, weighed about 8.5 pounds without ammunition. With eight rounds in it, I think I've heard like 9.5 pounds. It's very heavy, but all the riflemen I've ever talked to, they loved it. They just it performed every time. You probably had to keep it clean because like the German or the American rifles, and probably the Japanese, they had very fine clearances, so you couldn't get a lot of dirt in them, I'm sure. But like the AK-47 can get dirty because they're not as closely machined. The tolerances aren't as close. Anyway, that's all I got to say about the M1 or the Arisaka, although I may talk later at another time. I hope you've enjoyed this, and thanks for listening in, folks. I'll be back another time.